Okay, good.
Great, we're live. So welcome to the Kudo Box virtual book tour gathering. Really glad everybody's here. Jürgen, I'll have you give the introduction and tell us what we're all here for. And what I would like to say is also during this meeting, we have a chat box that's open. On your bottom right, there's a chat. Why don't you go ahead and write in where you're from into the chat box? That would be fun to see where everybody's from while Jürgen's giving the introduction.
All right. So thank you, Lisette, for the intro. This is the second video, second hangout with participants from all over the world for the virtual book tour about this particular book. You see the posters behind me. This is the book that we're talking about, Workout. I've been working on that for 2 years, and the idea of the book was to find concrete, actionable management practices that anyone can implement in their organization. And excuse me, in my search around the world, in my conversation with many people, there was one that I found in Poland. I talked with Paul Klipp, who was then the CEO of Lunar Logic, a software company in Poland. And his employees chatted with me, and they told me about their Kudo box practice. I had never heard of that before. And the practice was that the participants or the employees in the organization could give each other cards, tokens of appreciation. They just wrote a message on the cards. They put it in a box, a Kudo box, as they call it, and then Paul, the CEO, every now and then emptied the box and brought little presents to the people who had received the compliment. And they could choose dinner for two, box of chocolates, movie tickets, whatever. That was their own choice. And they're always small little presents. And they told me that this had a huge effect on the culture of their organization. Later, I met other people from other companies elsewhere around the world, and it seemed that the same practice in all kinds of variations has been implemented at a good number of companies worldwide. So I picked up the term Kudo box. I like that word, but others have other names for it, like love box or whatever. Doesn't matter that much. The principle is that you thank someone for something that they did for you or someone else in the organization. Now that makes for me total sense because I've read about positive psychology, for example. I'm now reading the book The Happiness Advantage, and this book emphasizes that you should focus on the positivity because happiness and positivity of employees leads to more success in the organization. There's another method called appreciative inquiry. Says basically the same thing. Focus on the positive, not on the negative. I have learned from system science and complexity theory about reinforcing feedback loops. And the systems thinkers often say that you get more of what you focus on. So if you focus on positive things, you get more positive things. If you focus on negativity, mistakes, failures, etc., you just get more mistakes and failures. So all these different experts, they come up with the same thing, which is to be positive, appreciate your colleagues. And that's what the Kudo box basically is doing. Now, there are different variants, as I said, different implementations of it. I know some companies have Kudo walls or walls with appreciation cards, whatever they call them. So they don't put them in the box, the cards, but they go on a wall, and then they locate the wall in a central corridor, for example, so that many people pass by throughout the day and see those cards all the time. And some companies don't do the gifts thing. That's fine. The employees just bask in the appreciation of their colleagues, and that already is a nice thing. Not everyone needs a little present to go along with it. So all those details differ, but the principle is the same. Be thankful to your colleagues. I implemented myself in my classes, in my workshops. when I found out about this practice, and I noticed that the participants of the workshop also really liked that practice. So I usually had a Kudo wall instead of a box, a door or a window, whatever. And throughout the day or the 2 days, people wrote tokens of appreciation, little thank yous, and put them on the windows. Sometimes I combined it with a gift. Sometimes I blackmailed them a little bit, like saying, make sure that everyone gets a compliment, because everyone who receives a compliment gets a free book. And of course, I cheated. In the end, everyone got a free book, no matter whether they got a card or not. But that made people really anxious to make sure that everyone received at least one compliment. So this is my background story about the practice. That's my experience with it so far. And I'm very happy to see that Gary from the UK has joined us. Gary is one of the people who provide a story for my book. And because of that, we invited him in this call. And I would like to briefly hand over the microphone, the virtual mic, to Gary, so he can tell us about how he implemented this practice. And then people may have questions for either of us. Gary, go ahead.
Thank you, David. Yes, so I read about the Kudo box idea, and I thought it was a great idea, because I was really after something as a manager. At Brightside, we use Scrum, so we've got Scrum teams, self-organizing teams. They try to look after themselves, and as a manager, you're less involved day to day in actually telling them what to do. So we consciously stepped back, and then found that I was actually missing out on some of the good stuff that was happening within the team. So a lot of that came up in these conversations, and I wanted the teams to actually be able to get recognition for what they were doing. So a lot of good work was happening and wasn't always visible. So I thought the Kudo box was a great idea, really simple. So I asked my manager at the time if I could go for it, and she said, yep, why not, go for it. And I sat with my other managers, and of course we started to overcomplicate it and overthink it. And really what we just wanted to do was have a box, have the cards, and thanks to Jürgen's artwork, it was easy. I just took what he'd already created. I stuck the Brightside logo on it because I wanted to get some sort of feeling that it was actually the company that was saying thank you, as well as their peers. So a little bit of emotional attachment there with the company. And how it works is the shoebox is on the water cooler, and there are the spare cards in front of it. And basically, whenever someone wants to compliment someone or say thank you, then they fill out the card and put it in the box. And it's me that sort of keeps an eye on the box. And whenever I'm passing or getting a drink, I'd have a look in there. And then if there's something in there, I'd take it. And what I was actually doing was I was recording all of the feedback, because it was all good stuff. I didn't want someone just to take it over and put it on their desk. So I wanted it to come through me so I could sort of see the sorts of things people were saying and recording it. And then once I'd got the card, I would give it to the person's manager and say, there you go, so someone's got a shout out. And then they would take it to them at their desk. And that was one of the overcomplicated things that we talked about as a management team. It was like, how should we do this? So we thought about sort of doing a big stand-up and presenting people. But in the UK, people are very self-conscious. They don't want a big fuss made, and people will sort of, oh, I don't want that. So actually having the manager go up does a couple of things. It basically gives a chance for the manager to have a conversation with the person. So that should happen regularly, but sometimes it doesn't. So it forces that. A chance to find out what that person's actually been doing. So if someone said thank you, let's find out a bit more about it. And then the third thing that I find is good is actually you're doing it amongst their peers, so their peers can see somebody getting recognition. A lot of people actually like their managers to say, well done, good job. It's a bit of reaffirming. Some people, that's not a big thing, but for some people it is. So for your manager to come over and say, thank you very much, looks like you've done a really good job there in front of their peers, is appreciated. The other important thing for me is it is actually the peers that are doing it, that you're actually getting the teams thanking each other. The team members are actually really want to point out someone has done something good and they get the recognition for it. I did an interesting exercise at the end of one year because I was recording everything. I found that I did have to almost like re-advertise it a bit. So we've been doing it since 2013, and from time to time it would sort of taper off a little bit. So I have tried to do something just to re-energize it a bit, or remind people it was there. And one of the things we did at the end of the year, I thought it would be quite good to recognise the person that had not received the most shout-outs, but also the person that had sent the most shout-outs. And it turned out to be the same person. And I thought that was really interesting, that you get back what you give. So that was really interesting to see. The teams vary in, like I said, some people like the recognition, other people don't. I've got a few people that are, let's say, a bit curmudgeonly, a bit grumpy. They see it as a bit of fluff, but actually when they get it, they go, "Oh, thank you very much," and then you walk past the desk another day and it's stuck up on the wall. So they've been actually, yeah, this is quite good. So it's nice. If you walk down our office, you will see these cards all up the wall. I pinched a couple before I came home, took them off the wall. So you can just sort of see that they're Jürgen's cards and filled in. So they cover the wall like wallpaper. And some teams get a sort of sense of pride. Oh yes, look, we've got lots of look at how we're doing. Another interesting thing I found was that teams were giving to teams. It wasn't just individuals. So if one team helped out another team, the team would write a card to give to the other, say, "Thank you very much for helping us out, guys," and they'd sign it all. So that was really good. We have people from outside. So our product owners aren't part of the teams, they're part of the business. So the product owners were thanking the teams for a job well done, and then the teams were thanking the product owners. I got a lot of sort of pleasure from going up and looking in the box. So it was good for me as well, because I thought, "Oh gosh, there's something in there." So it gave me something to look forward to when I looked in the box, and then there's nothing in there. I was a bit sad, and I thought, well, how can I try to get some more in there? So it's been a nice background activity, but no cost at all, only the cost of printing it out and actually making the box, which I bought the box home as well. So there we go. So it is a shoebox, as you'd expect.
Very nice, very nice.
And it was one of the team that decorated it. So she was actually the first person that got a shout-out card. So I gave her one saying, "Thank you very much for creating this lovely box for us." So yeah, this sits on the water cooler. And then people can come in and actually sort of see straight away that there's a bit of positivity around the place, and we're actually trying to sort of celebrate success. So it's been going a few years. Pretty much part of our culture now. People know exactly what it is when we talk about a shout out, or if someone's done something good, so we better give them a shout out, and it really is part of what we can do now. We've thought about doing the rewards like we were talking about, but that got a bit complicated, and since then the company has actually set up a wider recognition scheme where we do quarterly awards. So there is actually a bit of recognition of people that the company peers can vote for, and they get a nice trip at the end of the year. You're the main winner of your category. So it's nice. It's good.
All right. Well, thanks for the story. That's a great example of a specific implementation. I like the fact that you said that you appreciate peeking into the box, Gary, and that makes you happy.
Yes.
It's similar to what I heard Paul Klipp say of Lunar Logic when he first told me about this practice. He called it his secret spy system in a positive way, so that he knew what was going on. He knew the little things that people had done for each other, and he really appreciated that ability. Yeah.
But because I forgot to say that is actually what we do, because I've been recording everything. When we actually come to sort of the mid-year appraisals and end-of-year appraisals, I actually had quite a good set of information that I could take to the manager and say, look, here you go, look, so-and-so been doing all these little things you might not have known about, or is actually being really sort of different from last time you spoke. They've done all of this good stuff. So it's sort of complements people's personal development as well, and actually helps you have some evidence to back things up.
Right, perfect. And I would also notice is you made it very easy for people to write the cards by making it very visible. The box itself is on the water cooler, and the cards are in front of it or next to it. So there's hardly any excuse not to write a card. Exactly. Yeah.
But when we kicked it off, I actually printed them off, and because the card itself is blank on one side, and on the back it's actually got some instructions about how best to do it. And when we kicked it off, I basically printed out 3 cards and then put them on everybody's desk when we did it. So everybody had the cards straight in front of them to start off with. So yes, again, no excuse.
No excuse, indeed. I like that. One variation that I want to share with you before taking questions is another company that I talked with in New Zealand, and I must admit I forgot the name of which company it was, because I talked with so many. But this company had appreciation cards, and they printed the values of the company on the cards, which was a really nice touch. So that every time people wrote a compliment or a token of appreciation, it somehow had to connect to the values of the organization. And I heard another company say, yeah, we have the mission statement, for example. So that sort of focuses people's compliments if you want. I thought it was a nice idea. So I will now hand it back over to Lisette and or Louise for picking people with questions. We have offline questions submitted before, but we also have people on the Hangout here. So take it away, and me and Gary will do our best to answer them.
All right, well, I'd like to start with Mark Whiteman, because you've submitted questions before the meeting started, and I have those 2 questions. I can read them if you want, or if you want to just ask them. I think it'd be more fun if you did it, but up to you.
I can't remember what they were. Can you?
Yeah, I'll read the first.
That's terrible, isn't it? That's terrible. I'm so sorry.
That's not terrible at all. I would have.
It was very late last night.
Got it. So the first one is, what pros or cons have you noticed about keeping Kudos private versus pinning them public to the wall?
For me personally, it's the visibility thing again. That it's if I wasn't recording it, and if people were just saying thank you very much and putting it in their drawer, I'm not seeing some of the good stuff that's happening. I appreciate that some people are sort of quite private and don't want to make a song and dance of it. So I think that's why recording it and then giving it to them for them to choose what they do with keeps everybody happy. And I did find that yes, most people did want to pin it up on their monitor or on their team's wall. And again, other people can just see, even if they're not reading the card, they know what that card signifies, and just having a wall of them signifies some good stuff has been happening, even if they don't know the sort of precise detail about what it was.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Actually, I do not have experience with keeping the cards private, and I also have not heard of such implementations. There's always a public aspect to it, though the way things are public, that differs. Sometimes it is on a wall, sometimes it is publicly noted who has received a card from someone else, but there's always some level of transparency. And I believe that is important because you want to steer self-organization. You want to drive the culture in a certain direction. And you cannot do that if everything is all the cards are handed out under the table, then people have no idea what kind of behaviors are appreciated and won't be able to learn from that. So my strong suggestion is to have at least some level of transparency, though the way you implement the transparency, that of course can differ from company to company.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Anybody else? Yeah, Rainer.
Yeah, Gary, one question about opening the Kudo box. Is it on a weekly basis, or
I
told
can't
us
wait
that?
a week. I'm too excited. It's
Oh,
basically
on a daily.
I walk
Okay.
past, I have a look in, and
Right.
it's also part of the sort of the feedback thing that you really want the feedback to be given as close as possible. So sometimes if you leave it too long, then you're lessening the thank you factor for the person. So I like to keep on top of it. I'm sometimes a bit annoyed with myself if I haven't. And I look in there and there's 3 or 4 cards in there. I think, oh, crikey, someone's missing out. So yeah, I try to sort of do it as often as possible.
Okay, interesting. I thought about something like have a celebration during the sprint retrospective to opening the Kudo box, and everybody is in the room and can have a look at the cards, and maybe they can add some cards they had forgotten the days before to write.
That's it. I have
maybe
heard of people do that. Yeah.
Maybe it's something that you can add to your daily opening.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or give an overview for all, if it is okay for the team members. So
That's it. I think, and for teams, I find that's a really good thing to do, because if your sprints are anything like ours, it becomes a bit of a blur, and you can forget what actually happened throughout the sprint. So if you're just doing little notes as you're going through it, you come to the retrospective, and yes, you've got quite a lot of source material on there, and then some good stuff happens that perhaps it gets forgotten. So if you're just privately thanking him in that box and then opening it in the retrospective, that sounds like a good idea.
yeah, or you collect all cards that are already have been read by those, so every guy can put his open cards into the retrospective discussion, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I have heard of other organizations indeed who have implemented this as a ritual in the sprints and the retrospectives, usually, where sometimes there's a moment where everyone is asked to write at least one card for someone else, or indeed they open the box at that magic moment at the end of the week to see what is in the box. So if you make it part of a ritual, that also makes it easier, I think, for people to participate in it. Because sometimes the question that I get from people is how do you get people to go along with this, if some of them are skeptical, and it's always the same people writing the cards. If you make it part of a ritual, then it is easier for the skeptical ones to move along with the others. But that's an idea.
Any other? Douwe.
Oh.
Okay, what I'm hearing is from Gary and from Jürgen as well, that the moment opening the box is a kind of ritual during the retrospective. But as an agile coach, I'm also thinking about, okay, is it not? I think it's not the right moment to do that, because not the whole company is then involved. Only the team is involved, and I think you should have a company-wide implementing this. So also stakeholders can give compliments, of course, and they are not in the retro. So I think probably it's a good moment to do not do it in the retro, but before we do the demo, for example. I think that's a better place to do that as a ritual.
I totally agree there. Yes, so that's a great suggestion. Though I must say that some companies are teams and nothing more than teams. As with my team at Happy Melly, for example, we have one team of 8 people, and that is the company. So then there's not much difference. But obviously, you refer to other companies that are bigger, and then yes, you're totally right that there might be people outside of the team who receive or should receive a compliment. So there's there are other moments that you can think of to do this ritual.
Yeah, I'm also having. I've bought a book during the lunch party and got a set of Kudo Cards with them. Thank you for that, Jürgen. And I tried it out at a course I give in Agile Scrum. And on the third day, I asked the people who are participating, that were 25 people, to write a card for them. And some people got a lot of cards, but some people did not receive just one card, for example. I asked everybody to write 2 cards, but some people didn't get a lot of cards, but some people are getting a lot of cards, so they are more appreciated. So if you do it in a group, then you see who is most appreciated. It's really cool to see.
True, and that reminds me of one story that was excuse me, shared with me by one lady attending my recent workshop. She said that she had also attended the 2-day class with another facilitator 1 or 2 years earlier, and she said the Kudo Cards had been used in that class, and then at the end of the 2 days, she was the only one who had not received the Kudo card from someone else. And she said that she really liked the class, but she went home a little bit sad because nobody had appreciated her. Yeah, that's true. That can happen. Every good practice can backfire in some way. And that's why hopefully all of us are smart, intelligent adults who can watch out for such unfortunate side effects and then learn from it and do something about it. Of course, this lady got over it and she could joke about it now, but this was a good learning opportunity, not only for her, but for the facilitator as well. Within a company, it's the same thing. I'm quite sure that Gary, doing the metrics of the cards, is in a position to see which person is never getting a card, but actually deserves one. And maybe I should drop a hint here or there that this person really should be involved in this social network, because some are simply not so good at broadcasting their achievements as other people are, and as managers we have a responsibility to help them out and be inclusive in our approach to building a positive culture. So that's, I think, where the role of either the manager or servant leader or Scrum Master, whoever implements this practice, they can play a role here of making sure that nobody is being left out.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions?
We have one from an attendee that's not here. She's
all right.
Your question, so we'll do that and let other people think of things. It's from Sarah. Yep. It says, Sarah de Gregorio. At work, I'm trying to work on collaboration, trust, transparency, etc. And I think it's very important to be able to say thank you to other colleagues. The problem is that people are not always so mature to understand that this is a strength and not a weakness. How can I introduce the Kudos on the teams I work with as a coach without them thinking that I'm mad?
Yeah, I read that question, and the first thing that came to my mind was that wonderful video of the weird guy dancing in the grass. I'm sure many people have seen that before. And there's a nice quote about it. I don't know exactly how the quote goes, but it says, if there's one person, it's a lunatic. But if there's one other person joining, then he is a leader. And I think it's the same with a practice like Kudo Cards or whatever. If you're the only one writing cards, then you're a lunatic. And everyone else will think you're insane. But if you find one other person, and that should not be too difficult on a team or in a company, one person who agrees with you and says, yeah, this is a good thing, then you're 2 people, and that means you have a leader and a follower. And then the others are lunatics who are not joining. And I think this is the right approach. Be sure indeed that you're not the only one, because then nobody understands, but make sure that you have at least one person joining you in this endeavor, whatever practice it is. we are discussing Kudo Cards now, but the same applies to almost any other practice. And then nobody can say you're weird. No, because you have found someone else who joins you. So there must be something there that the others simply aren't getting yet. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Maybe Gary has his own experience with this. Gary.
Yeah, I find it odd that would be seen as a negative thing. To be honest, I mean it's one of the most easy things to say thank you, and I never see that as a weakness at all. I think I encourage people to say thank you, because quite often you're thanking someone who in the future will help you out, and they're more likely to help you out if you really said thank you and recognise them for helping you out. Like I say before, that the shout out cards do go back and forth. You do tend to see someone getting one, not long after gives one back. So it's quite reciprocal. So yes, I think getting it started is the key to that one.
Exactly. And the only thing that I can add from my own perspective is that I have on my task list, I use Remember the Milk as a task organizer, but there are many others, of course. I have a recurring task, a daily recurring task that says, say thank you. And I have to tick it every day. That makes me force myself to think, at least for a couple of seconds, is there somebody that I should thank today? Probably there is, and I'm probably forgetting about it. So I force myself to at least think about it briefly. I admit, sometimes I cannot even come up with a name because I spent the whole day in a coffee bar on my own reading a book or whatever. That happens. But plenty of times there is someone, and fortunately there's an online app, kudobox.co, made by Sergey, one of our team members. So it's easy to give people a Kudo card remotely. But the written cards are the best ones, of course. Gary referred to them. These are the cards, the beautiful ones. There are many other designs as well, but if you can't come up with a great design, use these, because this works as well. I mean, don't have boring cards, because people don't like giving boring cards. They should look colorful. They should look happy themselves. So download these cards and go ahead, write a compliment for someone. I know several experts, people much smarter than I am, who have advised their readers again and again, spend a minute each day writing a thank you card and do it by hand. Right. So this is my thank you card. Thank you for everyone watching this video. And thank you for everyone joining this video. We've been here for more than 30 minutes, so let's see if we have one last question from any of the participants here.
We had another question from Mark. Shall I read that out, Lizette? Mark, you had another question?
I can remember that one. Shall I ask?
Okay.
No, I was interested in different experiences with the rewards part of doing this. And what experiences you can share about the mechanics of how that works, and what works better, what works worse, whether, simply saying go ahead and expense something, having gifts that people can choose, that are physical gifts, or some other sort of rewards sort of setup.
Yeah, great question. So there are different philosophies here, different streams of thought. Some would say it is best if there is no extrinsic dimension to this practice, where it is only intrinsic motivation, basically as Gary has implemented with his organization. There are no gifts added to the practice. But I know at other companies that we have great success by adding little trinkets, little small things that are too small to destroy intrinsic motivation or disrupt people's performance, which is always the danger if you introduce extrinsic motivators. Many of you have probably read the work by Daniel Pink, Drive, or Alfie Kohn's Punished by Rewards. There's plenty of research indicating that extrinsic motivation will destroy intrinsic motivation. Well, if the presents are really, really small, then it's fine. I mean, I I just attended a conference in Hungary, and I got a nice little Rubik's Cube. I appreciate that, but it really does not destroy my intrinsic motivation of doing a great talk when I get a little present like that. But I kept the present because I like Rubik's Cubes. So it's just a small gift. There's nothing wrong with small, tangible gifts. And that is something that other experts say. If you add something that is tangible, and the card, of course, is tangible, but a little gift on top of it, a box of chocolates or something like that, that makes the impact of the compliment bigger. The feeling that can make a difference for some. So different ways of thinking about it. Some say do without rewards if you can, and others say, well, if you add the rewards, that could be the difference that makes it really work in some organizations. But because without the rewards, it might not be powerful enough. I think it is up to you to try.
Yeah. I guess I was considering doing something like out of all the Kudo cards that are given in a particular month, draw some out of a hat and let those people, choose a trip to the cinema or a meal out, or expense something up to a certain value, but do something that means something to them rather than putting the weight on the person giving the reward.
Yeah, that might make sense. Good idea. Yeah.
Douwe, you had another question that you had written in that didn't get addressed.
Yes. I don't know if the experience is long enough, but when implementing this way of working, giving compliments through Kudo cards, this is also a thing that needs discipline. What you say, Jürgen, is I have on my list. I have to thank somebody. But about this discipline thing on long term, how are we dealing with that? Because this is also something that can be dropped a little bit lower in importance.
So I'm trying to understand your question, but let me.
When you start doing this, is this going to lasting long in a company doing this? Because some people are not taking care about let's thank people in a long way. When you are doing this for a long time, people are not doing it exactly the same thing as, oh, we don't need to do retrospectives anymore, for example.
Okay. So, two sides of it. First of all, I think there are plenty of details where you can tweak the practice to make things work for you. Like my friend Jason Little in Canada told me that he made the practice work at a company where he worked, where they had a Kudo wall, by making sure that the Kudos were on the wall themselves in an envelope, so that the only thing that people needed to do was take a card from the envelope, write something on it, and pin it on the wall. That was the smallest effort that he could make it, because previously the cards had been behind them on a desk, and apparently that step was already too big. So you can see there are these very small environmental changes that you can make to make a practice more successful, and you really should experiment with it, because I think people too easily say, oh, this doesn't work with our people, or this doesn't work in our context, or it has stopped working after 2 weeks. Well, maybe you're not trying hard enough, maybe you haven't exhausted all the options. That being said, on the other hand, I admit there is an expiry date to each practice. I mean, after a while, things may not work anymore. It's the same with any workout exercise when you talk about physical exercises. 20 push-ups per day, that could be really, really hard in the beginning, but after a while, your body has gotten used to 20 push-ups, and 100 isn't going to make much of a difference. You need some kind of other exercise to strengthen other muscles. So there needs to be variety in the practices as well. That is one of the reasons why I am firmly against rigid frameworks of mandated practices, because I don't believe in that. I believe that Kudo box is a great practice, and it may work for you for 6 months or 2 years or 5, but after a while maybe it doesn't. And then try something else.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Great questions.
And so I want to address just one last quick question. I know we have 4 minutes. I think we said it was going to be 45 minutes tonight because we had 2 presenters. So we have 4 minutes.
Okay.
And Martina asked something, and I just wanted to address it as the last question. Does anybody, I guess on this call we could even ask everybody, just do you have any experience on how long it usually takes until others will join the practice? And Martina, I'm so sorry, I should have let you read that yourself, since you are on this call, so you can jump in if you want and finish that. But any experience on how long it takes? Oh, Martina, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, we introduced the Kudo box 3 weeks ago, and we present it every week publicly, and just 3 people putting the cards in the box. So I just wonder how long we should keep going until we say it's not successful, or when usually it starts work.
I can answer that. It goes in peaks and troughs with us. So some months nobody actually needs any cards, and you think, oh, that's it, that's finished then. And then the next month you'll have quite a few in there. What I found to start it off with, yes, you get a few people that are interested and want to do it. If no one else has put a card in yourself. You just can do something, even if it's something silly, like thank you for refilling the milk when you'd finish with it, or something like that. It doesn't matter really what it is. It's the act of giving a card to somebody else. And then the more that are floating around, the more visibility, the more natural it becomes, and the more people that think, oh, I'll do that then. And you just give it a go, basically. And if it isn't picking up, yeah, maybe advertise it a bit more, different slant, or forget about it.
Okay.
Gary, one question. Is this a kind of trust thing we have to talk about if it doesn't work after some time? Or what do you think is the cause for this behavior?
I think people it's normal because people are doing it all the time, but then I think people it could lose its impact, that people actually, because they're so used to saying thank you, it's not anything special anymore. So you almost have to think something else to be extra special to make a difference. I think that could be a drawback from it.
Yeah, or can we change then to the voice thing, so as we say it directly, face to face?
Well, yes.
Maybe that's the next step then.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're slowly devolving into a group sex here on the group.
Right.
Thought I'd call it out before I went too far. But
Okay.
I would like to have a group photo, and you are welcome to hug or to kiss or to wave or whatever inspires you. It is going to be a photo, so just keep that in mind. And it is going on the internet.
For sure.
So for those who don't want their video on, you don't have to have your video on. Feel free to turn it on. For the rest of you, I'll count down to 3, 2, 1. We'll take the photo, and you can do whatever inspires you. So 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Got it. Well, thanks everybody for joining. If you have future questions, please go ahead and tweet us at M30Workout. So hashtag M30Workout, and we'll make sure to get those answered.
Yeah, you can email me as well if you want to. So I know you've all got my email address. And thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. Really appreciate you attending, and again, thanks everyone for joining this call. There will be more. The next call will be about, or what does it be? Well, personal maps, probably.
Personal maps.
That will be the next one. All right. So next time, in about 2 weeks, we're going to talk about personal maps.
And you're all invited.
And everyone is invited, so try to be the first because the seats fill up really fast. All right, thanks everyone. It was wonderful, and maybe see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.